Hello, everybody. Dr. Rick Wallace dropping in on you. Good morning. Yesterday was a hectic day, so I didn't get to do any morning videos. Had to get some things squared away, but I'm here this morning. This is one of several that I'll be doing throughout the day, but I wanted to get started on something positive. So here we are to talk about this on Mindful Tuesdays. And those who are familiar with me know the gravity I give to the way we think, how we set and establish our mindset for each and every day. And so that's what we're going to talk about today. Before we get into it briefly, and I've got to be kind of quick here because I have an 8:30 session with a client. But look, first and foremost, if you haven't heard, I'm doing a digital business masterclass for people who want to create an online business presence. And it's a step it's from A to Z. It's from the concept, meaning that if you don't even know exactly what kind of business, but you know you have a talent, you know you have something to offer, you know you have something of value, we start at concept, coming up with based on your own gifts, your own talents, what you can bring to the table now. And keep in mind that you don't have to stick with this thing throughout the rest of your life. This could be a launching pad for the next thing and the next thing. I've done, and they haven't all been digital companies. Matter of fact, more have not been than have, but I've done 47 businesses over the last 30 years. Some of them are anchored in what I'm passionate about. Others were just good opportunities for money that I had the gifting, the talent, and the ability and the resources to pull people together to get it done. So it's not about saying, if I don't find this right thing, if I don't find my purpose. I get so many people who talk about finding their purpose, and so they're sitting still because they're not sure of their purpose, and life is still calling you to move. You have a talent, you have a gifting. You'll work your way into your purpose as you start to examine and discover and take inventory of who you are spiritually, emotionally, psychologically, and we visit all of that. But it's going to go from concept. So even if you don't have a clue of what it is you think you can do online, but you know you have something to offer, we'll get that conceptualized. We'll work it out and get an idea. But we're going from dealing a digital presence on social media, whether you're setting up landing pages or whether you're setting up a simple site. You don't need anything extravagant. You just need to know what you're presenting and knowing how to present it and knowing how to deliver it. And if you're delivering something that people need, you have a market for it. You just have to deliver it. You have to let people know that you're there. You have to be able to explain very clearly what their problem is so they know they have it, and then explain very clearly how you're going to help them deal with it. And we're going to get into all that, A to Z, from getting it set up. From conceptualizing it to getting it set up to launching it. And the beautiful thing about the masterclass is it's individual. This is not going to be a online webinar where it's a bunch of people asking a bunch of questions about what they're thinking, and you're trying to figure out how their idea will apply to your idea. This is one-on-ones with me, and we're going to work on who you are, what you are, where you're trying to go, and show you how you can create a digital presence online. And with very little, I've actually done it with zero, nothing but my time and willingness to research and figure out how to get something done. I've done it like that before, and I've invested in other times, but the gamut is there. So if you want to know more about it, email me directly. The email address is in there. If you agree and you're ready for it, we'll get you signed up. The value is definitely there. You'll see it, when we communicate with one another, and we'll get you moving forward. If you haven't got critical mass, that link is in there too. If you want to sign up for a free 30-minute breakthrough session, that information is in there. Fill it out, answer all the questions, email it to the support team. They'll contact you and get you scheduled, and then we'll move forward, and you'll have your 30-minute breakthrough session. I had a ball with those last week. Now, let's move on. Mindful Tuesdays. The title of today's theme is what you focus on is what you will feel. I can't stress that enough. Things are happening in this world, and they're happening at an unbelievably rapid pace and rapid speed. And you are required to interpret what's happening, categorize it, process it, and based on how you interpret it, how you categorize it, and what you focus on the most will determine how you come out of that. See, that's how you get two people who go through the same identical situation, and one becomes a victim and one becomes triumphant. If they're starting at the same place and they have the same situations and they go through the same thing, one is damaged and one comes out triumphantly. What is the difference? Perception, how they choose to view it, how they set their mind up to think. Your thoughts are the seeds of your destiny. I cannot explain that enough. I put that in two of the last two books I've written, Critical Mass and I Am. It's explained in depth that your thoughts are the seeds of your destiny, that when you manifest something in your mind, it's not simply an idea, it's literally material and forceful. Your thoughts have physicality. Your thoughts can literally move situations. Your thoughts are actually possessing energy, and energy has force. And so you got to be careful. You're planting seeds with your thoughts. And if all you're thinking about it's what's wrong, you're literally birthing and harvesting more negativity. You've got to be able to see beyond it. Hey, let's talk real simple. The simple definition of faith, as most people understand it, it is the substance of things that you hope for. It's the substance. Not the situations, not the circumstances, not what you're going through, not what you can see, not the 2 + 2 you can add together, because see, where you're going, the math may not add up. That's the power of faith. Faith transcends the math. See, when you're sitting down and you're trying to rationalize, you're doing 2 + 2 because if I can sit down and I do plus 2, but see, that's the thing. When you're doing your math, it doesn't require faith because 2 + 2 is going to equal 4. It's when you decide to move into a entire new realm and do something different that you start to transcend what that truth is in general. And you sit up and say, although I don't see it, I believe it. Now that's faith. Why? Because it's the substance of the things that I'm hoping for. And it is the only evidence I need of things not seen. And so now I'm not speaking my circumstances. I'm not speaking my situation. I'm not speaking what I've been through. I'm speaking who I am and where I'm going. And there's a difference. Why? Because every time I speak, I reprogram my mind to think. I send a message to the universe, I alert God, and I make a declaration. And it's clearly stated that when you declare something, it is established. When you declare a thing, it will be established. The problem is most of you are focusing on the thing in front of you, your situation, your circumstances, your past mistakes, your past failures, what your best friend is saying about what you can and cannot do, what your parents have always told you was possible for you. You're repeating it and not realizing that you're doing a number of things. You're programming it into your subconscious, which is establishing it as a truth and anchoring you in it. And then you're sitting up and declaring to the world, the universe, and God that, hey, this is just what it's going to be. And think about it now. For those of you who are Christian believers, I want you to ride with me. For those of you who are not, stay close because it's going to make sense to you too. Now, there's a point in the story about the Israelites, and they're sitting in the wilderness, and Canaan's on the other side of the Jordan, and everything is there, and all they got to do is cross over. This is the land that's been promised for more than 400 years, way back when Abraham was alive. It was promised way before back then, and now they've spent all this time from that promise to this point is 400 years, depending on whether you talk about the actual promise, which was before Isaac, is 400 years. 430 years if you're talking about at the birth of Isaac, or not the birth, but the weaning of Isaac, then it's 400 years. And that's the difference. That's two different mentionings. It's the point of the promise and the weaning of Abraham. So 400 or 430 years, they're both there, but it's 400 years, right? So now you're sitting up and you're here at the point of promise. You've went through the process. You've gotten there and you're there. This is where a lot of you are right now. You've gone through the process and you're sitting on the banks of the promise and you won't go in. Now, what happened is God tell them to go in and take it. Their name is on it already. It's theirs, but they got to go in and take it. To most people, that don't make sense. Well, if it's mine, why can't I? Because if you look out in that world, there's a bunch of things that belong to you, someone else is possessing. I'm not talking about material wealth. I'm talking about your birthright to be great, your birthright to rise up and live in power, your birthright to expand yourself, your birthright to experience life and not just survive it. That's a birthright. It comes with your purpose. And you're sitting on the banks of it now. You've gone through the process. You went through hardship. You went through loss. You went through struggle. You went through all of that. And you're sitting on the banks. But because it's something on the other side that scares you, you won't move on it. Now, I want you to think about this because I tell you all the time, God meets you at the level of your expectation. So I'm just bringing it clear to you this time. I'm not just asking you to trust me. I'm going to make it make sense on something that you're aware of and you understand. So they're sitting there, and so they decide, I know what God said, but let's send some spies over and just spy out the land and see what we really up against. And all 12 spies go out. 10 spies come back, and they got grapes that are just unimaginably huge. And the 10 say, man, it's everything that God said it was. It's flowing with milk. It's unbelievable, but that's a problem. What's the problem? There are giants over there. We're like grasshoppers in their sight. We can't take it. But there were two, Joshua and Caleb. They said, yes, there are giants over there, but if God said we can, if it's in our spiritual DA, then we not only can, we have a responsibility to take it. See, it's not just about what you want. You are designed for a purpose. You're here to make a difference. And they had their difference-making opportunity on the other side of the Jordan, but they said, we're going to listen to the 10. If they say we can't, we can't. This was God's response. He told Moses, tell them that I have heard their complaints against me. I don't know, man. I went back and I kind of read it. I'm like, I don't see no complaints. But the very fact that they didn't believe was a complaint. A complaint against God's design, a complaint against God's command, a complaint against God's power, a complaint against everything you say you believe about God. God said, take it. You say you can't. It's a complaint. God said, tell them that I have heard their complaints against me. And here comes the big part. Tell them also, as they have spoken in my hearing, so shall I do to them. As they have what? Spoken in my hearing. So when I'm speaking it, I'm hearing it, I'm programming my mind, the universe hears it, God hears it, and then God says, well, if that's what you expect, who am I to transcend the law of faith and give you something different than what you say you expect? What you focus on, you feel. See, they focused on the giants. Joshua and Caleb focused on the promise. This is me personally. I've been through some things in my life. I call it the process. But see, I learned early that in order to obtain the promise, there must first be an endurance of the process. So I went through the process. I learned not even to complain while going through the process. I understood that the process was strengthening me. It was preparing me. It was building me. It was setting me up for something else coming in the future. Now, it doesn't make any sense to me whatsoever to go through the process and balk at the promise. But a bunch of people are doing it. You are focusing on what's scary instead of focusing on the promise. I mentioned this earlier in a whole different context, but it reigns true right here. Not one thing in life that I've obtained, that I've accomplished, that I've achieved, that was worth anything came without a risk. The world don't work that way. Put some skin in the game. Get in there. You've endured the process. You've been prepared for it. What does it mean? It means that I am built for this very battle. I am built for this very moment. Seize it. Too many focusing on what could go wrong. And what you focus on, you feel. Think about it. You have the ability to choose how you feel. I'm not saying that you can override loss and that you don't go through grief and that that's not what I'm saying. What I'm saying is you don't experience something so powerful that you got to grieve every day. You experience loss at that level periodically. Every day there's something that you can look at and say, man, this sucks. Every freaking day there's something that you can look at and say, this is some BS. Now, if you choose to focus on it, it's going to dominate your thinking. It's going to dominate your physicality, meaning that you're going to have a stressful feeling in your body. You're going to release cortisol. You're going to release adrenaline. You're going to be feeling like you've got a fight or flight response, but nothing to fight, nothing to run from. And that's it over and over and over again every day. It's called chronic stress, one of the most destructive forces. It will lead to heart failure, liver failure, kidney failure. It will tear your body up, something you're thinking. You better learn how to frame things in what you believe about your destiny. Frame things in what you believe God designed you to do. Frame things in what you know is possible for you. Start focusing on the promise and stop looking at everything else. If the promise has been made, there's so much more that you can do with life if you stop focusing on the negative. I'm not saying act like it doesn't exist. I'm saying act like you're big enough to handle it. That's what I'm saying. I'm not saying sit up and be in denial. I'm saying sit up and understand that you've been built for the battle. Sit up and understand that if you sit up and you move forcefully towards the things that were meant for you to have, that there's absolutely nothing that can stop you. One of the most powerful lines that I've ever, I literally, when I'm watching a movie, I'm not just watching for entertainment. I'm watching for the little jewels that are dropped there. And two jewels that I literally live by were dropped in movies that took a truth that I was already aware of and put it in a simple sentence that made it easier for me to teach. The first one, I'm gonna get to the one that really, really applies here, but the first one was about being impactful, learning how to set yourself apart. And it comes from the movie Wallace, which is about some mountain hillbillies that were running shine, but they were relentless in what they were doing, and they were being bothered by some corrupt cops, and they refused to pay the cops, and the cops started messing with them, and the two older brothers were just straight killers. But the youngest brother was smart, but he wasn't a killer. And they caught him and his cousin, killed the cousin and beat him to a pulp. And the baddest of the brothers was sitting there, and they were at the bar that they owned. And he looked over and said, so what are you going to do? And the kid said, I'm not like you and Howard. And I'm watching the movie. I'm not like you and Howard. I'm not tough like you and Howard. I'm not violent like you and Howard. I can't do what you would do in this situation. He gets up and walks over to him, and what he said just totally blew my mind. He said, it's not the violence that sets a man apart. It's the distance he's willing to go. And I was like, wow. You got a bunch of violent people out there. But when you got somebody that doesn't have a stopping point, that they're going to get it done no matter what, you find that a bunch of your enemies fall off because they ain't really ready to go where you're going. See, when you sit up and there's some things, like Dr. King said, that a man that does not have something for which he is willing to die isn't fit to live. What is he saying? He said, when you get to a point where you're willing to die for something, it's a bunch of people that want to stop you, but they ain't willing to get in the game like that. You know, your enemies thin out when you're willing to go the distance. Your enemies thin out. Then the other part where we're talking about destiny, that in the movie Deja Vu with Denzel Washington and Paula Patton, there's a point where this guy, they're back in time. They literally travel through time to go back to stop this bomber from blowing up this ferry. And he's sitting across the table from the guy, and he's talking to the guy. He's trying to do everything he can to figure out how he's gonna stop this guy from bombing this ferry. It's already taken place, but they're back in time. And the guy looks at Denzel and he says, "Do you know do you know the meaning of destiny?" And Denzel said, "No, what?" He says, "The more you try to stop it, you only ensure that it happens." When you start to see your destiny that way, that every obstacle in front of you is actually just something that's pushing you towards the destiny. The only one that can stop you from reaching your destiny is you. When you start to see that, and you start to stand up in who you are, in your design, in your purpose, and decide, I'm no longer simply going to survive, I'm going to live. I'm going to live, and I'm going to go after everything that was meant for me. Watch what happens when you wake up in the morning. Instead of sitting up and focusing on what's wrong, focus on what's right. Understand that there is no obstacle or undesirable circumstance to the mind of God, and that mind of God is in you. It's around you. It's everywhere. Every answer to every problem exists. There's nothing that you're going to face that you cannot overcome. Stop focusing on the discomfort and focus on the destination. I hope that, something I shared with you rings true. I hope that, you can connect with it. But definitely focus on what you're capable of. Focus on what the beautiful possibilities of the challenge are, and so much more. Again, for those of you who want to join or enroll in the Digital Business Masterclass, which is a customized one-on-one masterclass to help you go from concept to launch, and then 60 days of consultation. Email me. The email address is in there. You're emailing me directly. This is a one-on-one thing that I'm starting from the beginning to the end. Nobody else is going to be involved in it but me and you until you sit up and get ready to launch. If you want to be a part of that, email me, get more details on it, and then we'll take it from there. Have an unbelievable day. Go out and make something happen today. The world needs you to perform at the level of your design. Too many of us are folding under the pressure. Too many of us are tucking back into the corner of comfort. It's time to step out and be what you were designed to be. Live life at the level of your design. It's time now, right now. Stop making excuses. Stop procrastinating. Stop waiting on the perfect opportunity and the perfect moment. They don't exist. You have to get out there and make it happen. If it's a part of your destiny, it was meant to be done. Not when you found the right opportunity, not when things got comfortable for you, not when everything seemed to line up, but it was meant to be done the moment you discovered it. You walk in it, you step in it, you push in it. With that being said, I'm going to live life, like I always say, live life on full and die on E. Everything else will take care of itself. Stop waiting on these perfect situations. They don't exist. Live life on full and you won't miss the opportunity. With that being said, I'm out of here.